news, events and stories through correspondent report, expert opinion and stakeholders analysis. We have really interesting topics on our table today, and we'll get to look at this one from River State, where it was stated that NSCDS uncovers new illegal refining sites. And on the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja Metro Line ready for commissioning, says Wike. And on Kano State, 41 exotic SUVs worth 2.6 billion naira purchased for lawmakers. And on minimum wage, NLC TUC to mobilize CSOs and others for strike. And we'll look at a security case where state police is imperative due to population increase. This was stated by a Senate leader. And on cybersecurity, CBN withdraws circular on levy. These stories will be analyzed by our guests after the short timeout. Please stay with us.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable
you human trafficker.
Honorable they are not picking our calls. They made up their minds.
So no agreement with the EU, but
every day our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics,
Nobody's ambition is what's the blood.
I have fought very firmly.
natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today. Every day our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics,
Nobody's ambition is what's the blood.
I have fought very firmly.
natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
is on the path to withdrawal the contract. So no agreement with the EU, but
Thank you so much for sticking with us. We have with us in the studio Dr. Patience Osarojiji. A very good morning to you. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank
Good
you.
to have you on the show.
It's a pleasure.
All right, we also have with us Dr. John Idumanje. He's a public affairs analyst, a human rights activist, a journalist, an arbitrator, and a management consultant. Good morning.
Hello, viewers.
And it's who you are, so...
Of course.
All right, let's look at our stories now. The Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps has arrested 9 individuals involved in oil theft at an illegal refining location in a forested area on the boundary between Rivers and Abia State, as disclosed by the NSCDC Public Relations Officer, Babawale Afolabi, in a statement issued on Monday in Abuja. The operation followed an NSCDC discovery of another illegal refining site on Saturday with over 100,000 liters of stolen crude oil in Adobe Settlement, a Che local government area of River State. And according to Afolabi, the apprehended suspects, aged between 20 and 53 years, were allegedly caught in the act of refining stolen crude oil extracted from a vandalized oil well head. According to Afolabi, the site also housed a local refinery under construction designed to produce 60,000 liters of crude oil at a time. And he stated that interrogation of the suspect was ongoing and they will be charged in court upon completion of the investigation. Sometimes when we hear of these stories, it seems these stories are reported every day. We see this in the news every day. One site somewhere, discovered, another uncovered, and all of that. And when you go through the story, you hear the number of, or the capacity of these sites. And it begs the question, who are these people and how do they have such knowledge to put this together, even though it's illegal? But let me get to hear from our guests now. Yes, Dr. John, let's hear you. What's your perspective to this story?
Thank you very much. Thank you, viewers. You see, Nigeria has become a drama, so to say. It's like the theater of the absurd. Some years back, when I think during the time of Obasanjo, the Niger Delta youths protested, and the promise made to them was that the federal government will establish modular refineries to, producing, federal government is proposing 48,000 naira. It means you have to wait for 2 months for an average worker to buy a bag of rice. You have to wait for keep your salary.
You use the whole of your salary to get
that is the point. It means that livelihoods are threatened. In fact, the country is becoming a theater of the absurd. This is not what we bargained for, and that is why I always enjoying the federal government.
The fact that there is hunger in the land, and he feels that crude oil theft will never come to an end. Do you also have that same perception?
I know that it will never come to an end, because even in the high prep, the cleanup you're hearing in Ogoni, the environmental cleanup remediation that is going on, in their emergency measures, a modular refinery is supposed to, you know, be instituted so that these children, they know how to do all those things. But just like he has said, the people who are behind these things are the security men and the big men. Because you cannot tell me, in that environment, in our own place, is the security men that goes to those places. They are the people who use this.
They go to those places to do what?
To vandalize now. They bring these boys to vandalize. And
you
they are
see
the
that happening in your area?
You see them, yes now. They are the people who do it. Yes, they are those who do it.
To join the boys to
They are those who perpetrate it. Then these boys, they just use them. Like he has said, as they said they have arrested them, it will just end there. Because hunger is there. Like, I was just telling somebody in the bus as I was coming. I said, me, Gary now, a cup of Gary, 300 naira. It's unheard of. It has never happened like that before. 300 naira when we buy a basin of Gary for 10 naira. As at how many years ago? And now a cup of Gary is 300. I was telling them, me, I can't even do without eating Gary for 2 days. Yesterday, I was like fainting on the road. No, I can't stand it. I must swallow something at this 67 years. If I don't swallow something, there's no job for them. What do you expect them to do? They will do all those things.
But it doesn't change the fact that it's illegal.
It's illegal. What Dr. Patience is simply saying is that, you know, there's a complex web of criminals into oil theft.
Yes.
That complex web comprises, but not excluding, the security men.
Yes.
There are those who are the breaded wolves. They have a lot of money to fund it.
Yes.
Are you of the impression that it is all those poor boys who are jobless that can buy tankers? It's impossible. We are talking about a multi-million naira industry, which cannot be funded by the youths. So, ultimately, in that complex web, the security operatives must comply. Yes. If they don't, oil theft cannot take place. There are times when
into our society.
Very well.
Young boys who are growing up and looking up to their uncles, and the uncles that they look up to are these guys who are actually perpetrating this act. Yes. So just like we have with the internet fraud, young boys who are growing up and their mentors are these people, it means that crude oil theft has eaten deeply into our society.
In fact, it has become part of, very soon it will become a way of life. Now,
so what can be done? If
one issue the Constitutional Drafting Committee must address. You see, in America, if this is your portion of land and you own this land, you own everything in it. I have seen people in Texas who own oil. They mine those oils and keep. They are not part of OPEC.
They own it.
Yes, they own it. So our law should be flexible on the ownership and control of natural resources.
But you would agree that Nigeria's economy solely, to a very large extent, depends on the funds.
That is another question mark on our leadership.
If you say that the people should own it, what then happens to, don't you think it's going to affect Nigeria?
It will not. They pay royalty to it. That is what is done in every federal system. In every federal system, if you find oil, or any solid mineral resource like uranium or water, if you go to South Africa, you will never hear that in Bloemfontein or in Pretoria, so solid oil mineral resource is mined there. You will not hear. It is resources will mine them and pay royalty to the federal government by way of taxes.
Yes.
That is not obtainable in Nigeria.
So back to my question now, doctor, yes, doctor, both doctors. Back to my question. If you allege that the security operatives are part of this act, this illegal act that is being carried out, then what can be done? Because the security operatives are supposed to be the ones in front and actually securing this place. The stories that we hear that these places have been discovered and uncovered is usually...
Go to our security section, you hardly see people from here because they pay into coming to River State, coming to the Niger Delta, because that's where the oil is. And so when they come here, what else? They came for business. Yes, they came for business. So that is what they do.
Okay, so what do you suggest is the solution now? How do we come out of this menace? According as apart from what has already been mentioned, the recommendations that you both have agreed to, that these people should own these resources from their land. Aside from that, what else do you think we can do at this point?
I don't know what else we can do again, because if these security people, even the ones that are standing on the road, you see them collect money. Are they supposed to do such things?
No.
They are not supposed to do it. and they shoot people at random.
Some people suggest that these boys that are arrested should be given some form of rehabilitation, reorientation. Do you agree?
Yes, that's why I told you about the high prep cleanup. That a modular refinery, they have the sense and everything it takes to make this thing be. Allow them, build it for them, let them be doing it. That is a way of rehabilitating them. That's a way of empowering them. And you see that those crimes will end. You can't say somebody who is hungry to just sit down like that. We mothers, we know what we are suffering. Even has handwork, nothing happens.
And elevator. Yes, I don't see you smiling to this, even though yes, Wiki has spoken. We are very, very happy.
Well, you can see I'm smiling.
Okay, you have to smile after I make that
you have
statement.
to force a smile.
Okay, so let me get your perspective to this story.
See, I don't know what is wrong with our leaders. Have you seen where in America or Britain or even South Africa, where they have announced a metro line was somebody, do you need to even tell the public? It's shameful.
It's shameful.
That till today, 63 years after independence, we are still wrestling with the basic things, the business, healthcare, education. As I was coming on radio, they said in one exam, in River State, in one exam center, that anytime it rains, the roof is leaking. So the students, when they get to write exam, they have to pray for sun to continue to what? Shine. Wow. If not, as soon as it rains. We are still talking about transport architecture. It's so shameful. Go to South Africa, go to ordinary landlocked Botswana. These are things they don't even mention. So it is shameful for me that a minister will come and tell people, Amechi was the head of all these metro lines, telling China to come and give us metro lines and so on. Ordinarily, if we were advancing, we should not be talking about these issues at all. We should be talking of policies and programs that will empower people. Let me tell you, development is not all about building roads. It's not all about building bridges. It's not all about bringing trains or light trains or whatever. It's all about the human being.
The human beings.
Is policy our problem in Nigeria? We've heard people severally say, if it's for policies, we have different policies to help Nigerians. We have different policies that support this and support that. But when it comes to implementation, it becomes a problem. So do you think policies, the issue, we should have more policies?
We don't have problem with the policies. The implementation of the policies are the problem. If you go to London, Britain, you go underground with these trains. They take you to where you're going. I can come from work from Port Harcourt to Lagos. Yes, I went from London to Birmingham and returned 2 p.m. It's like a distance from here to Lagos. How many hours? And you go and come back. But here, we just keep hearing. We just keep hearing. Like doctor was saying, they own every land. Federal government owns your land. Owns your land. And so everything that is on your land is their own. And then they kidnap people till today. Some of those people are still with them. I hope this one is not the one that they will bring bandits to be collecting them.
We don't pray that will happen.
But the one that happened last year, what has happened to the people? Has any person said anything about it? That's what we are talking about. It's still in Abuja. And this one, they said they didn't even make elevators because they don't have you in mind. There are the aged people, there are people with disability. Yes. Nobody thinks about you. And so they can do it. How many of their children will enter this metro line? How many of their children will enter metro line or themselves? Unless that day they will just do as if they are celebrating it and then they will just enter and come out. That's what we are talking about.
Nigeria is a developing nation. We're not a
at 63. Nation. I'm 67 years old.
Yes, sadly, we are still a developing nation. So if promises are made and they are kept, don't you think that we should, give the...
What I'm saying in essence is that our pace of development is too slow.
Too slow.
At this point in time, when I talk of policies, the other day India went to the moon. They are doing their research. Policy on research we don't have. Ordinary transport architecture, we have not been able to get it right for 63 years, and you are saying we are developing.
Developing country.
When I left secondary school and came to Port Harcourt, there were a lot of industries in Transamadi.
Yes.
I keep saying it. Some of them were established before us in the late 80s.
Yes.
Mid and late 80s.
Glass industry, amalgamated.
They were many. Madam, you know. Now, job was not a problem at that time.
Yes.
So, at what point did we begin to degenerate? That time this starter, listen.
Our population is not the same.
That tells you that we are not planning. A government that is planning, if they are constructing a road, for instance, they will say in the next 50 years, the population in this area will increase up to 50 million. So now, what is the kind of road that can accommodate vehicles with that type of population? Planning goes in. The drainages will be deep and if possible deeper.
Yeah.
The walkways will be wider.
Pedestrian.
That is the way they plan it.
What do you think is the problem? Why do you think these things that are supposed to be done and these plans are supposed to be made?
Sometimes we even get fed up talking because we have said this in time and again. At the stage of planning, our leadership in most cases, they give portfolios to people without considering their specialization. Now, what does a lawyer have to do with transportation?
Yes.
What is the business of a journalist with construction of roads? In Senna climes, it is only an engineer that is appointed a works minister, a works commissioner.
Yes.
A specialist who is maybe a surgeon or a specialist in internal medicine becomes a minister.
Yeah, or a commissioner.
Here we have a lawyer as Minister of State for Petroleum, a lawyer. I mean, you are going to read these books all over again as if you have been, you are a pupil learning ABCD. But if you appoint somebody who is a petroleum engineer,
correct,
who is a specialist in that area, put him where, that is what we call technocracy. In Nigeria, politics has dominated every facet of life. Yes. In a technocratic system, you put the qualified person in the right place and set
it today. Doesn't carry all these things we are talking about. So now we can see when a technocrat rules, you will see the difference because he started from scratch. He knows the pains of the people. He is not just coming to be a politician because politicians don't think about you. Let me tell you, politicians don't think about you. All they are thinking about is how they will be flying to America, how they will send their families, how they will,
why is that? Because
they revamp the money.
There's so many cases of people saying things like,
yes, because
this is what I'm going to do. So it seems like the orientation or the belief that people have about the office, leadership office in Nigeria is wrong. So why do you think
it's wrong? Because they spend so much money. They borrow and do all sorts of things. And so when they get there, they have to gather and fill their pockets back. That's why when they get there, nobody cares about you. You can clap hands for them under the sun from morning till night. Once they get there, all the women, nobody remembers you again. All the men, nobody, you call them, nobody picks your call again. So the earlier we begin to say no to these things, the better for us.
All right.
One more thing about the Abuja Metro line. You see, you may want to ask, where did the federal government source this fund from?
10 billion.
The so-called, is it $3 million or the equivalent of 10 billion?
Naira.
It is from China. Since June this year, since June last year, since about a month after Tinubu took office, we have been taking loans. Loans. Now we have taken more than $2.5 billion loans. Yes, I can. If you have your Android phone, just Google. Just recently, they took another $2.5 million loan. They have been taking loans, tranches of loans. And again, China is. Do you know how much Nigeria is owing China?
Sure.
Nigeria can be sold, and my name, who is I am John. They can change my name to Chinchon because they are owing us. No, we are owing them.
We are owing them.
We are owing them way above 77 trillion naira. And if you look at the conditions of some of these loans, it's laughable. The conditions under which these loans are taken are not even disclosed. And the worst thing is that the only resource we have, crude oil, is what we use in paying part of the loans. So if crude oil is sold for $50 in the international market, they can say, okay, you are owing us. So give it to us for 25 or 30 dollars. Who loses? Nigeria stands to lose. We will continue to lose. until we begin to plan and revamp this economy, until manufacturing takes over the place of consumption, until we begin to revive those ailing industries, we are already on the slippery slope.
All right, let's go to Kano State now. 41 exotic SUVs worth Okay, Kano State government confirms the purchase of 41 exotic sports utility vehicles for members of the State House of Assembly, each valued at 68 million naira. The governor's chief of staff, Shewadas Shagagi, who confirms the purchase, says the lawmakers are entitled to sound working vehicles and have already taken possession of the SUVs totaling about 2.6 billion naira. He stated that the governor, having considered the economic situation, decided and directed the contractor to be made to understand the need to spread the payment over some time. And he stressed that the governor's action is based on respect for the rights and obligations of all tiers of government, adding that he remains committed to the well-being of every arm of government and the people of the state in general. A ranking lawmaker who spoke to newsmen on condition of before we get to what that lawmaker said because really it's something I would like us to get to later. Before we get there, let's get your thoughts on this. Yes, Dr. Patience.
My heart is broken because 68 million, a billion for one car, for one person. If they share that money to the poor and poor masses who are hungry, and use it to create industries where these people can be having, even if it's 500,000 naira a month, it will create, it will help us. If they think that they are not accountable to man, because in every position any person is, you are accountable to God Almighty. And when you talk, they say politics no get God not there inside politics. Nebuchadnezzar in the book of Ezekiel chapter 28, 26 verse 7, God addressed Nebuchadnezzar as the king of kings. But the time came when God showed himself. When you begin to equate yourself with God, God will bring you down, lower you. He became an animal. That same God of yesterday is the same God of today.
All right, let's get to hear
it's
Dr.
okay.
John, your thoughts on this story.
When I read through the story, the first thing that occurred to me is that corruption has taken place at three stages. Number one, the man who introduced a contractor to the governor has taken his own share of the money. Those vehicles are not up to 30 million.
Jesus.
Go to the market and find out.
Have you done your research on that?
Each of those vehicles may not necessarily be up to 30 or 35 million. Now, corruption has taken place at the point of this man, maybe somebody in government, introducing the contractor to the governor. That's the first point of corruption. The second point of corruption is the contractor will now go to the suppliers and inflate the price. And thereafter, that's the second level of corruption. The third level is those around the governor will say, Oga, you cannot buy this vehicle, your boys are here. The governor and his people will now build in their own. So all these so-called 41 exotic vehicles they are talking about, at 68 million per one, each one is 68 million, is a lie. First of all, the price has been overinflated. Now let me come back to it. Now when they further interviewed the governor said he is not the person who started it, that this thing has been going on. That was stated by a lawmaker. It has been going on, which means that this level of profligacy, this level of insensitivity of government, this level of thievery and squandermania has been going on in government for a long time. Now, let's look at the circumstances under which these vehicles were bought. Today, Nigeria is in the intensive care unit of any hospital. Yes. Because even when people are stranded, people don't even have money to pay keke. Every morning, even as you don't have 1 naira, your table or your phone is bombarded with text messages. They don't take phone calls. These are the kind of lawmakers we have succeeded in grooming in Nigeria. I am not saying all of them do that. But more than 90% of them
Then it's
are
all
in
of
that
them.
habit.
It's all of
You
them.
see?
now.
So listen. So the so-called oversight function. What are you oversighting? These are people who oversight corruption. These are people who compromise standards. They take money in most cases when they get to construction sites and the wrong thing is done. They talk down on the contractor with a view to getting some money. Thereafter, they can go to hell. Construct the road whichever way you like. After all, if there's an accident, I'll be flying in the air.
If Nigerians feel this is wrong, and then it was stated that this has been happening over time. Hold on, please. If this is stated that this has been happening over time, then what do you think Nigerians can do to put a stop to this if they feel it is outrightly wrong?
Is there any person who feels bad in Nigeria? He said it. Our skin is so thick to all these things. We can absorb. If I talk now, then go do me like this.
But what should be done if we are not speaking?
We don't protest now. Nobody protests against anything happening in Nigeria. I was telling you a case that happened in my place. Is it you I was telling? A case that happened recently where a woman, a young 33 years old woman was kidnapped in her farm from the house of her husband. Her husband's head got caught in Eneme there. Nobody, even from the community, the chieftaincy thousands is so much. And nobody in that community, she stayed in the hands of the herdsmen for 3 weeks and 1 day. Nobody said a thing. Because I'm an activist, I got up and I went to the newspapers. I went to Love FM. I said all I said. Some people even came and said, nothing concern you inside. People are not concerned about the other person.
That is it.
They are not concerned about the other person. So those of us who are doing it, what is your business? Like we are talking here now, and I just a waste on our time. Because we are so thick, our skin, we absorb all sorts of things, and you see people dying. Go to the hospital and see how many people have BP. Go to the hospital, see people. Stress is what causes BP and diabetes.
Okay, Dr. Patience has said what Nigerians are not doing. Yes, Doctor, aside what she has stated, do you have something else to add to that?
See, the level of awareness in our country, especially among the citizens, is very low. If not, this action calls for protest in Kano State.
Yes.
Ordinarily, if you do it without the knowledge of the public, they don't know. It would have been better they did not come out to say it. But now that they have said it, this action requires stoning. Punishment, protest.
We should not
when I say stoning,
yeah, we have to
when I say stoning, it could be pure water. Yes. It could be with paper.
No, we shouldn't still stone anybody.
No.
You know, again, you have to go back to the law and find out if this is a
that is what I'm saying. See, the governor is an emperor. He does whatever he likes with the money accruing to the state.
Finish.
And the governor is so insensitive that they could come out openly to say they need this car. And even when he was confronted with the question, what of the economic situation, circumstances, the lawmaker now said, you know, they are going to use it, it will facilitate their oversight function. Now, what are the oversight functions of a lawmaker? Most of the lawmakers are not even knowledgeable. Some of them don't even read their bills when they get to the house. Some of them dump it with their PAs. And they tell the PA, go through it, what are they saying? And okay, it's okay. Some of them belong to the I support group.
All right.
So that is the kind of society. So the society is
talking about protests like
we are degenerating. Nigeria is degenerating. The Second Republic we saw is much better than what we have today. So we are rather going down 40 years after. That's what I'm saying. And that is the sad aspect of it.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. John. At this point, we'll take a short time out, and when we return, the interesting conversations continue. Please stay with us.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable
you human trafficker.
Honorable
You're a human.
So no agreement with the EU, but
Every day our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics,
Nobody's ambition is what the blood.
I have fought a very family.
natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today. Every day our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics,
Nobody's ambition is what the blood.
I have fought a very family.
natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
Jack us up and down like this now.
I hope nobody carry belle.
Why you ask oh?
Because this road where they see so, it no guarantee safe delivery.
We just dey vote for government, but we not get good governance.
At all.
Road so e no dey, light o usa, the infrastructure nko e come turn to be forbidden fruit for the city.
Corruption, well everything. Hello?
Hello, madam. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Mrs. Ayeni. I am calling from the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs.
Okay. Okay, I've been expecting your call.
Madam, remove this your phone from loudspeaker.
No verse. Now my phone be like that. Hello?
Are you there?
I hear, I'm hearing you.
Yes. We saw a copy of your invoice for computers, printers, and laptops.
Yes. Are you working on them now?
Ma, the prices you quoted are way too high now.
Madam, sorry, please don't cost.
We found the laptop you said is 1.8 million naira for 600,000 naira.
Hello?
Now my body network there.
I can't hear you. Network is bad.
Madam, we can hear you. Continue.
Hello, I can't hear you. We call you back.
That behavior not good now.
Madam, now this kind behavior they kill our country. You suppose do things differently. Make Nigeria for better.
This message is brought to you by the Akinfade Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation,
and with broadcast support from Atlantic Television Network.
I don't get a lot. Boy, they won't booga me small. They say, man, give them bribe. I say, nothing. Okay, now. We'll go block later. You remember that contract we will do that time now? They don't pay.
But first, you see the house rent with the old things. We go first call caretaker, take the money, slap am.
Beg, see, you know, say I get annual levy why they pay for club. Where me and boys they shark beer in our house, I could pay that one. You remember say me and tell you I go buy you motor. I go buy now.
Okay, they pay you money now. We don't they beg caretaker? Why would they beg landlord, old man, and they agree give us time? Money can't come now. You won't divert time. You said na corruption. Corruption, not in my house and not in my country.
Sure?
Sure.
Corruption not in my country. This message is brought to you by the Akinfade Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation,
and with broadcast support from Atlantic Television Network.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
Thank you so much for standing by. It's still Atlantic Blowout right here on Atlantic Television Network. The conversation continues with the next story. Leaders of the Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, and their Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, TEC, counterpart notifies the civil society allies on their planned industrial action should the government fail to reverse the hike in electricity tariff and conclude the minimum wage by May 31. In a joint communique issued on Monday, leaders of the two labor centers gave the federal government and National Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC, month ending to reverse the hike. This came as they reiterated their May 31 ultimatum for government to conclude the new minimum wage or face a national strike. Let's get to hear your thoughts on this story, Dr. Patience.
The new minimum wage.
Yes.
I know that.
615,000 proposed by the Labour.
Yeah. Now the value of our money has so gone down. What? 615 naira to pay to a worker. 15,000 naira to pay to a worker for 1 month. It's nothing, compared to the money they steal and carry out. Okay, all the money they said their EFCC is recovering. They are recovering this. They are recovering this. Where is the money now? What do they do with it? and they keep borrowing. So that 615 naira is nothing compared to what we have in Nigeria. It's just that because of the corruption, and then they will pay. They are talking about 48,000 naira. No, now. That's why I always said they don't have us in mind.
Considering the current economic situation in Nigeria, do you think that is something that the country can afford?
It can afford it. Yes, because when they begin to pay that 615,000 naira to a worker, they will not have opportunity of stealing and going to hide our money again. Yes, they will not have the opportunity of embezzling our money, going for medical treatment. They will have to bring their eyes down.
You know, that is going to be the minimum wage. It means the least. So now, other workers will be paid more than that. And you actually feel like Nigeria can afford all of that?
Even if Nigeria can even pay 1 million naira to a worker. Because overseas, they pay social workers. Like us, they call us senior citizens. Is it not? They are supposed to be paying us money every month. Over there, when a child is born, we don't even have a good data in Nigeria. I lost my daughter's birth certificate that I had her in 1985 in London. Because there is a data, I just wrote to them. They sent me another certificate. Because my signature, everything is still the same. Now we don't have a data in Nigeria. And we have those who don't even go to work. Ghost names are everywhere. And then, that's why when they talk about this amount to pay, it's as if, because there are ghost names that people share in their office. They share it. And so they think it's a big thing.
There are ghost workers in the
civil service? Yes, there are ghost workers in the civil service. Oh, you don't know?
Tell us.
There are ghost workers.
All right, let's get to hear from Dr. John. How do you feel about, or what do you think about the 615,000 naira proposed by Labour?
For me, the amount of money is not what should bring problems. You know, in collective bargaining, now we have a situation where since 2019, this 30,000, was it 2019 or some years back, we agreed on 30,000 naira as a minimum wage. Now, because of executive high-handedness and corruption, there are still some states that have not been able to pay 30,000 naira. The average amount of money received by an average worker in Nigeria is not a living wage. It is take-home pay that cannot take him home. Now, look at the inflation rate. The inflation rate has burst the ceiling. What I expect government to do is to go into negotiation with labor.
Which is what they are already
doing. Even if, labor, that 615,000 minimum wage is a proposal. It is an industrial action.
8,000 is also a proposal.
It's also a proposal, and that is why they should go into extensive negotiation, bearing in mind the exchange rate of the naira per the dollar, and other variables like inflation, school fees.
Transportation.
This government has come to introduce so many terrible things. Since the government came in, it has been taxed from one tax to one levy, without consideration for the well-being of the people. Why is it like that? Now, concerning the minimum wage, some people may think if you calculate it, that 615,000 naira may not be up to $600. Yes, it may not be up to. If the exchange rate of naira per dollar is say 1,400, do the math and see. It's not up to $600.
It's not.
Which ordinarily is not a living wage. Yes. I want the federal government, apart from negotiating with labor, I want the federal government to fix manufacturing in Nigeria. Revive the companies that are ailing or completely moribund. By the time you fix all this, there will be job. You see, we have been consuming too much. We don't export. How do you improve an economy?
We don't export as much as we consume.
We don't export. Yes, I say we don't export because our export, apart from crude oil, our export amounts to nothing as part of, as a component of the foreign exchange. Apart from crude oil, nothing is happening again. Meanwhile, Nigeria is rich in solid mineral resources. We are rich in cash crops, cocoa, all these things are there. We are capable of producing the food we can eat. But today, look at it. There's hunger in the land. Not because
we produce the food that we eat.
Not because we cannot produce the food, but because loans given to farmers are diverted and given to politicians.
Yes.
Air-conditioned politicians. People sitting in air-conditioned offices. So even before we revisit and continue to negotiate on the new minimum wage, let us bear in mind that increasing our wages to even 800,000 and so on is an interim measure.
And then the electricity hike that was also mentioned.
It's an interim measure because it is not a long-term measure. The long-term measures are what government should be looking at. Number one, look at agriculture. Agriculture can employ so many people. Look at, if you go to Kano, the textile industries. In Benin, there is a place they call Textile Road. I'm told that in those days, that was the hub of textile industry. All these industries are gone. Now, consider the inflation. If a dollar exchange for 140 naira, 1,400 naira, it means the 615,000 labor is talking about is grossly inadequate.
Yes.
In the advanced countries, people work. Some are paid $20 per hour.
Yes.
Some are paid $40 per hour. Those in data, all this data entry, data analytical jobs, they haven't paid more than 60,000.
Let's come back to the state of Nigeria's economy. You keep talking about other countries. You keep mentioning nations.
Yes, I have.
So back to the Nigeria, a developing nation, and back to our present economic situation.
Yes, our present economic situation did not come from heaven. It is caused by human beings. And they started destroying this nation some 10, 15 years ago, siphoning our oil money. Take a look at the refineries. And I wanted to even talk about that before you switch over to Madam, concerning the oil theft issue. If our refineries were working, how many years ago did we build a refinery? Now, even the Port Harcourt refineries, they said they will work. They will work in 2001. Later, they shifted the goalpost to 2002. That was 2010. Now they are still talking of the refineries working. We are in 2000. We are in May 2024. Why? How else can our leaders play on the intelligence or play with the sensibilities of the citizens? They are joking. Nigeria has become a theater of the absurd. That was my opening statement.
That was your opening statement.
Yes, theater of the absurd.
This meeting playing out because they have tried to have negotiations, have conversations, but we've had cases. We've heard, according to reports, that the Labour had to walk out of the negotiation because he did not meet what they actually wanted. So they are meeting today again. How do you see today's meeting playing out? What do you expect from today's meeting?
The problem of these Labour people, when Oshomole was a Labour person in those days when we were working in the bank, it was not very easy. Labour is not very easy because behind you, there are those they will coin behind and then give them something. They will be fine. They will be with you, but you don't know that they are not for you.
Okay.
Because they have collected money behind you. All of a sudden, they say we are going to have 3-4 day strikes. By the end of 2 days, we have gone back again to work.
Okay, so back to the conversation now.
Yes.
Back to
so it is like that.
How do you see? What do you expect from today's meeting?
Normally, our country, they don't. Like I've always said, they don't have you in mind. So it will not play. Yes, it doesn't.
Okay,
it will not go.
Let's hear from Dr. John.
I expect a very healthy negotiation, but I don't see Labour bulging at this stage because the destiny of well over 200 million people, the destiny of well over 200 is in their hands. If they backpedal, it will be the saddest day in Labour and the Nigerian workers. I expect Labour to go negotiation. They can pedal a bit, but still hold on to the ideal that in Nigeria, what is paid to the wage that is paid to the average worker is not a living wage. And it's a wake-up call on the part of government to revisit those areas that can create jobs, those areas that can make us to produce. We should be a productive nation.
More than a consumer.
Yes, we are consuming too much.
Thank you, Dr.
Countries like that don't grow.
Okay, the Senate leader, Senator Opeyemi Bamidele, on Monday said creating state police would deepen internal security if approved. Opeyemi said this in a statement in Abuja released by the Directorate of Media and Publicity, Office of the Senate Leader. He said in part, and I quote, "We must admit that the system can no longer guarantee the dignity of human lives and the security of collective assets considering our security dynamics in the Fourth Republic. This, in part, can be attributed to the rise of armed attacks orchestrated by diverse interests, either pursuing the divisive agenda or seeking predatory ends in virtually all geopolitical zones." He said in Nigeria, as one of the world's fastest growing nations in terms of population, could not continue operating this kind of security architecture in spite of its strong federal tendencies. This is as shown in the demographic data of the United Nations, contrary as revealed in the recent presentation of the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Kayode. Nigeria has a police-to-citizen ratio of 1 to 650. And this ratio is a far cry from a ratio of 1 to 460, which according to the United Nations is the minimum requirement for every sovereign state or territory worldwide, said Bamidele. I could see you reacting to this story with expressions. Let's get to your words now. Are you in support of state police?
Yes.
Why?
I support it because it will create, it will empower a lot of people, even though they have made a lot of our youth to go into crime and behind their mind, just like we are hearing, the youth now want to react and their reactions will be so bad.
So don't you think it will abuse state police?
No, but it will help. It will assist in a way because they are in the communities. They know the criminals. If they will be able to give the informations to the state police, and then if they will come for arrest and things like that, it will be easier for them to do the arrest because these community police are in the vicinity. They know and they can easily, if you're hiding in a place, there's no way they will know one or two information, even though our country, our security system is not too sound.
Why do you say so?
It's not too sound because our police, they say police is your friend, but in actual fact, they are not really our friends because of the way they react to us. They are not really our friends because they don't act to you like a human being like them. Like they're talking about the dignity of human. They don't act to you like their friend. Get to the police station and see. They say there is no bill, but we pay. They say there is no this, but you do.
Okay.
So that's the reason why I'm talking. They are not really your friend.
What do you think about state policing?
Yes, first and foremost, there is no reasonable man that will not accept the establishment of state police. Remember, in the federal system, there is distribution of power between the center and the states, and between the states and the local world government. Today, Nigeria has a federal government. We have 36 states and 774 local world governments. Now, policing in Nigeria is under police, that's number one. Number two, one of the ills of the police is that there is centralized policing. The police high command is just centralized. So if something is happening in Bayelsa State or Rivers State, you have to take orders from the Inspector General of Police in Abuja before you can mobilize, before the Commissioner of Police can mobilize. So more or less, there is one sole administrator up there in Abuja.
Who gives the information?
He gives the directives. It's like a small god who must, and in most cases, before he gives the directive, he will also call the president. So that is not how to organize. I will always make reference to the United States because our federalism is a reverting model of the American world federalism. In America, all states have their police. The federal government also has its own police. New York, NYDP, they have their police. Now, why? Some of the advantage of having a state police is that, number one, it's very easy to mobilize. if something happens at the state level. Then secondly, policing is done at the, like she said, doctor said, policing is done at the community level.
Yes.
Virtually.
Security levy as outlined in the Cybercrime Prevention and Prohibition. And that's Amendment Act of 2024. The Apex Bank announced this in a revised circular dated May 17, 2024. The circular was addressed to commercial banks, payment service providers, non-interest banks, and others. The circular was titled Cybercrimes Prohibition Prevention Amendment Act 2024 Implementation Guidance on the collection and remittance of the National Cybersecurity Levy. The directive for the collection of the levy was met with nationwide backlash, which prompted the presidency to suspend the implementation. The Federal Executive Council suspended the implementation of the provision of the law, citing the need to conduct further reviews. We had to actually take this story because we have been following up this story right from the very beginning, right from when Nigerians had that this had the backlash, and then down to when the presidency had put it, on hold, and now this. So how do you feel about this? What do you think about this?
Remember, the cyber security law has been in place since 2015. It's not a new thing. Most people think it's new. It's not new. Now, this bill proposes to charge banks 0.5% in every single bank transaction. Now, when you look at it very well, the bill is, that law is dubious. Why? You expect the NSA, the National Security Advisor's Office, to manage the funds. And who is going to be the auditor? The Auditor General. And a financial system that is already rotten, you want to add to the rottenness of the system. Again,